Hello, this is the day that the Lord has made. We will
Mhm.
rejoice and be glad in it. We are little after 9 p.m., but we are so excited. God is doing some great things. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Lady Melanie Brown, and this is the broadcast 60 Days of Purpose on the Road to 60. And what does that mean? I will be 60 on September 12th. We've been counting down the days throughout this whole 60 days. I've had literally four surgeries, three emergency surgeries, and one planned surgeries. And two of the surgeries were in 1 week. And then I just had surgery August 22nd. So I'm not even supposed to be sitting up talking with a little bit of makeup on and all that. But the devil is a liar. We had some technical difficulties today, but I am excited. We were supposed to have another guest on earlier at 8 o'clock, but Lady Jacqueline Bowles, would join us. She will join us on Wednesday at 9 p.m. But I'm excited tonight. I have a special guest coming on. And y'all know I told you I'm a Facebook stalker and I'm always watching people and watching things. And I have this beautiful young lady on tonight. And we know each other through different people. I've met her mom, which is just as beautiful. I know where she gets her beauty from the inside out. I've met her mom. I've had her as a special guest on one of my shows. I've also just interviewed her aunt on last week. And so I am excited. I was intrigued by this young lady during this 60 days of purpose. As you know, we've been coming on motivating people, encouraging people, hearing powerful testimonies, overcoming testimonies. That's who I am. I am an overcomer and I'm an encourager. Of course, for my birthday, I would like for it to all be all about me, but God said not so. We're going to encourage people on this journey. So without further ado, I want to introduce you and I'm going to let her give a little bit of her background. I'm going to let her give her awesome testimony. I'm just excited. She has been very patient. We've been having difficulties, but she has been patient. Without further ado, I want to introduce to you a beautiful woman of God from the inside out, Sister Tasha Haskins. Take it from
Hello.
here.
Well, Ms. Melanie Brown, thank you so much for having me tonight. I consider it an honor to be here. I'm grateful that you reached out to me, and wow, I think I would be 100% selfish for my 60th birthday. So, homage to you. You're
Okay.
definitely more spiritual than I am. That's amazing. Um, so good for you. No, that's great, and I'm excited to be able to be a part of it with you. But a little bit about me. I mean, born and raised in Washington State, and my parents met at Washington State University, had me and my brothers, and I have lived all over Washington from border to border, basically. My father was in ministry. He didn't have his own church, but he was in ministry, and he passed away. But my mother continues reaching people as well. So we kind of all kind of do it in our own different way. Like when
Mhm.
you interviewed my aunt, she's about, rehabilitation and housing and getting people back into, life. And then, my mother, she's in, foster care, and she also like,
Yes.
works with single women and just empowering women to do this thing called life after such great loss that she's had. And then there's me, and I'm kind of like this, I'm in the beauty industry and I'm in the basketball industry, and I just kind of just, wherever God really puts me, I just kind of make, a metaphorical pulpit wherever that's at, right? And meet people where they're
Yes.
at. So I'm kind of like, I like to say, Jesus, he liked to go to the well and he liked to go to hang out at the park with the kids. And he wasn't
Yes.
really into like the pomp and circumstance and all that. So I'm kind
Right.
of that way too. But anyway, so it's just, I'm really honored again to be on the show, and I'm grateful to be a part of your journey to 60.
Oh, thank you. I mean, this has been so special. I have learned so much about myself through other people's testimonies, but the thing that I really love that this is allowing people, like I know people know you. I mean, you're a public person. people know who you are. But then there's a whole nother group of people that don't know who you are. And people look at
Mm.
you and say, oh, she's so beautiful, very well versed, and all these things. She comes from this family. But what is it and what was it that got her to this place? We know it was God, but we know that we have to go through some things to get to where we are. We have to go through all these different, I call them stepping stones to get where God would have us to be at for such a time as this. And this is just a season because we go through more seasons in our lives. So I would like, if you can, to just share some of your testimony, and you can go whichever direction the Lord leads you, whichever way you would like to share, because there's somebody on here that needs to hear your story.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
let me tell you, you have the most beautiful smile, and I just know that I always tell everybody, because I love to smile and laugh too, but I know sometimes behind that smile there's things that people don't know. But then there's a catalyst that causes that smile to be even brighter. So wherever you would like to go with your testimony, that would be awesome with me.
Okay, well, I'm hoping this can be a little interactive so people don't feel like I'm just,
Yes.
rambling on and on and on.
Oh, no, no,
But
no.
I am just in a very cool season of life right now.
Yeah.
And it has been a tremendous journey. When you have the type of caliber of parents that I had, and you have these kind of expectations, that are on you, and when you go through challenges, it's kind of like how fast can you get over them and then go back and,
Right.
brush off your shoulders and then keep going, right? But
Yes.
unfortunately, that leaves a lot of things that are broken. And it's not on purpose. I think just even people, especially people of color, I know that your
Right.
audience is not just brown people, but I'm going to speak to them really quickly.
Yes.
That people of color, we're taught to just be strong and sweep it under the rug and suck it up and,
Hmm.
pray about it, shout about it, and you're good now. Like, and that's like a lie. And I'm sure the
Yes.
enemy enjoys us doing that, because by the
Hmm.
time we're done sweeping everything under the rug, we're levitating to the heavens on that rug. Do you have a flying
Yes.
carpet? No, it's all my stuff I've swept underneath my rug.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so for me, I dealt with a lot of different traumas in my life, with my first one being at 5 years old. And then, of course, having the loss, of my grandfather on my mom's side, and then my father, and then my brother, and then my pastor, like within 2 years period of time.
Wow.
And just all of these things on top of, because of the trauma I went through in my younger years, just not liking who Tasha is. I didn't
Hmm.
really understand myself. I didn't understand my body. I didn't understand my worth. I just was like, these bad things happen, so I must not be worth anything. And I kind of lived
Yes.
life that way. And so I
Hmm.
put my focus on other people. So a lot of the exploits, Ms. Brown, and a lot of the things that I've done and I'm known for, were me like deflecting the internal things I was having. So if I'm doing all these
Yes.
grandiose things, it's like a mirage, it's like okay, so now they see all of that, but I'm like in my bed in a fetal position,
Hmm.
crying, right, every night, wondering what's going on,
Wow.
why these things aren't here or these aren't there. And it was interesting, the things that people envied about, me. And I'm like, you have no idea. I would like love to have your boring life, and you're whole and you're happy and you feel loved and you feel protected, than to be in the life that I'm in, and
Yes.
so and that's why I even think the word says to compare ourselves amongst ourselves is not wise, because it isn't. You think you want that, but you have no idea what the person is enduring on the backside of that. So about 2.5 years ago, so almost 3 years ago, well, no, 2.5, 2018, I did have a breaking point,
Wow.
like severe breaking point, where I was like, I'm over it. I just don't want to
Hmm.
do this. Like, everyone I love, everyone that cares about me and believes in me is in heaven. So I think I'll just go join them. Walking on
Oh.
streets of gold sounds like a really good thing right now. Like, that was just
Hmm.
where I was at.
Hmm.
A few years prior to that, I never was involved in like, drugs, alcohol, things like that. But I did get into a situation where I was introduced at the age of 33. So even on my 21st birthday, I didn't have a drink, I didn't have a shot. Like, I did not have my first drink of alcohol until I was 33 years old.
Wow.
And it's it I I found out how it kind of nulled me. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I can just, wow, this is kind of a cool little floaty space. Like, I don't feel the pain. And, if I'm getting these negative things are happening to me, I don't feel it and internalize it. like just at the impact and that it could be, right? And
Right.
so it became a crutch. And then before I knew it, it was a chemical dependency. So once it was circumstantial, but then it became, I actually think I need this. And I never
Wow.
had anything like that in my life. I mean, I had been in environments where everyone was smoking, drinking, kicking it, and I was like proudly sipping my water, like, hey, you
Been
know.
there, done that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like I didn't even really, but so when the testimony that you saw me write about the other day, so my father, his name's Aaron Haskins. He passed away about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, and I remember I was like 16. And I don't know why, but he told me, Tasha, if you ever end your own life, you'll be forever in hell. So I don't know
Wow.
if that's true or not true, but I know that the day that I was done with life, it was the end of March of 2018. It was
Wow.
like I'm literally standing on the Tacoma Pier, and I was like, it'll be quick.
Wow.
And my father, it's like his head appeared and he was like, if you do that, you're not going to be in heaven. And I'm
Wow.
like, um,
Wow.
my screen is frozen. Am I frozen to you?
No, you're not frozen.
Okay,
No.
good. Okay. Because that facial expression I see on my screen, I don't want the
Yeah.
world to see that. Um, okay. So I climbed back down. This like random fisherman was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And I went into my car and I just started texting people I knew, like, is it true I'll go to hell if I end my own life? And of course,
Mhm.
people were freaking out, like, why is she even asking this
Right.
question?
Right.
What are you talking about? Like, you're beautiful. You've had this big birthday party and blah, blah, blah. And what in the world? And so a friend, I don't know if you were familiar with who the Millers are, James and Nikki Miller.
Oh, yes. Those are my
Yeah,
friends. Those are my family. Yes.
awesome. Okay, so Mr. Bieber
Yes.
Miller, Nikki is someone that she's a quiet support for me, like that. She's a
Yes.
mentor, and I don't broadcast it to everybody, but she's just there. And her husband is in the mental health field for those who are
Yes.
transitioning back from incarceration, and I didn't know that. So she was one of the people I text this random question to, and she responded back, and she's like, where are you? What's going on? I need to connect you to my husband. I'm like, okay. And so she did. And he was like, come down to Greater Lakes. This is where I work. I'm going to get you connected and to get you all this, whatever. So this was in April of 2018. So I went down there. I'm like, well, I'm not, going to be in heaven. So I have to figure out how to do this thing called life. I have to figure out how to want to be here.
Right.
Um, and uh, so I went and I did the intake and I did all of that. And he made sure he hooked me up with people that would actually really be able to help me.
Mhm.
I want to kind of take a tangent here, Ms. Brown, and say that, you think about athletes, right? And
Right.
how when they get injured and they tear their Achilles or something happens, we gotta get back on the court. So I'm gonna go to the doctor. I'm gonna get my diagnosis. They're gonna do an X-ray. Okay, everything okay. And then I'm gonna go to physical therapy. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm okay and I can get back on the court, because I'm about to make it to the league or whatever we think that is gonna happen, right? And but when it comes to the matters of the heart and the mind, for some reason we think that we don't need to do all that.
Right.
For
That
some
is
reason we feel
very
like
profound.
we don't need to go and get diagnosed or get help to walk through
Mhm.
that injury that could be further damaged if we don't get the proper care, right?
Wow.
You know, we think that we can pray and shout it away. I mean, I'm sorry, I
Mhm.
don't know any athlete out there in the NBA who's had an injury that went to church, prayed, shouted it away, and was back on the court. I'm not saying that God can't do instant healing, but I am saying that just like he created pastors and teachers, he created physicians and
Mhm.
therapists and
Mhm.
people who
Mhm.
are skilled in helping people walk through traumatic things that affect us as adults and that cause us to do
Right.
things that just aren't good for us, because the
Yeah.
enemy, he's there to steal, kill, and destroy. So if
That's
he can
my
convince
scripture.
you that you aren't
Mhm.
valuable like he did me for 30
Mhm.
plus years,
And
you know,
the thing that I noticed that you grew up in the church. Your grandparents, your parents, So you had a foundation in the church, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It can happen to anybody. But really, there's some people out there that think it can't happen to them, or it's not happening to them, even with that lineage that they have.
Right. And nobody is off limits.
Right.
I used to always say to God, they said, "Oh, he won't give you more than you can handle." I'd be like, "Why do you think I'm so strong? Like, I don't want to handle all this." Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be your female Job here walking, just I can't do it. But I think when I made the choice to tap into not just who God says I am and all of that, but also the practical, skilled people that God gifted to help us walk through these types of things,
Mhm.
that's when the change really began, because I started looking at things in a different way. And sometimes I had to fight for it. Sometimes I had to say, please don't let the good speech and the makeup fool you. Like, I'm messed up, okay? I need your help. Yeah. I like all people on this podcast. No, sorry, I apologize. So my 5-year-old, who has zero regard for me being on a show right now. So because they're kids.
I love
And
it.
so, but again, it's like, we're supposed to, just like we would for any type of, a physical injury, we want to be able to do that for whether it's spiritual or heart. And I think a lot of what's scary, because in this journey, Ms. Brown, it ruffled some feathers of people that were in my life. Because obviously, me healing through things and then choosing to some degree healing out loud because I wanted to help people,
Yes.
it indirectly did some exposure, which was
Mhm.
uncomfortable, because when there's people who are comfortable in like the mess, like they've made
Mhm.
like
Right.
a nest, and they have like a whole mansion and everything inside of the mess, like that's their
Mhm.
identity. um it's it's like, I'm not trying to expose you, but I have to heal. Like, I have to.
Mhm.
Like, now it's a
Mhm.
matter of life or death. Now I can't just end my life because my dad said I'm going to go to hell, and I don't want to burn for the rest of my life. So I have to
Right.
figure this out. So
Mhm.
now it's not, it's about me. And I think we're taught to not be about us. But just like when you're in an airplane, Ms. Brown, and they say first put an oxygen mask on yourself
Right.
before you
Right.
put it on somebody else. Because what are
Mhm.
you going to do if you're suffocating and dying? Who are you going to help?
Right.
Like, who are you going to help?
Yeah.
So I'm metaphorically, spiritually, mentally dying, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, the look and all that stuff is great. And there's so many of us that are. And my heart is for people that are in the spotlight, as you stated with your daughter and her thing,
Right.
who are functionally dysfunctional. There's, because
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
us, the people who are killing themselves, the Anthony Bourdains, the Kate Spades, they're functionally like
Wow.
prominent people. They're not walking backwards, talking to themselves on the corner, itching
Right.
themselves. They're
Right.
normal, everyday people that get up and go to work, do their
Mhm.
thing, are revered and everything, and they are messed up because they have, one, nowhere to go. Two, it's like marginalized about mental health and how serious it is. It doesn't mean that you're talking to yourself or anything like that. You
Exactly.
just you have a health to maintain. When the Bible talks about us and our temple, you think that he omitted the mind? You think he was
Mhm.
like, oh, actually, just your physical body, so stay in
Mhm.
shape? No, he said from your head to your toes, that is the temple.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
good.
for me, I've made that choice. And I remember I started a mantra a couple of years ago that said it's okay to not be okay. And it is, because that's the beginning of becoming okay.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was really thrilled because after 2.5 years, I finally completed the program at Greater Lakes, to where I'm no longer codependent or seeking, needing alcohol, because I now know to handle and process things in the right way. So when I'm
Yeah.
hurting, I'm like, Tasha, why are you hurting? What's going on here? What was the trigger for that? What can we do? Versus like, I just don't want to feel it, you know? And
Yes.
there's so many people, whether it's sex or it's men or it's,
Mhm.
drugs or it's church even. There are people who
Mhm.
want to drown out their life because they just go to church every day, all day. They don't have to think about nothing, just what they're going to wear to
Mhm.
church that.
And
And
they
it's
have
like,
no relationship.
but they don't even have a relationship with themselves.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah, I
and
call
I
those
was one of
people,
those.
they're wearing masks. Those people are wearing the mask, sitting in the church, going to work, at home, and just going, I say existing but not living.
Right, right. And
Mhm.
it's hard because we, you know, especially in the climate of our current country situation and everything, although it's always been there, it's just now getting filmed and now we have technology to expose it. But you know, there was indoctrinations that were put, especially in brown people, like you just got to be
Mhm.
strong, you just got to suck it up, and we're going to beat it out of you, and that's just what, right?
Mhm.
And it was one of those things where that has been perpetuated, where it's like, oh, I don't want my son to be diagnosed with nothing, or I don't want him to have that. No, I don't want him to have that. But if it gets in the way of your son possibly making it to the NBA, you'll be like, take all the pills you need to take, Dante. I need you to
Mhm.
get to the league out the hood.
Mhm.
I'm like, how does that work? You
Mhm.
know, how are you
Mhm.
more, you care more about your child's physical body than you do their
Wow.
spirit body and their mind, their
Right.
heart.
Mhm.
And I think as parents, we don't know any better. So, you know, we are really doing the best we can of what we learn and what we know. But when you know, right?
Right. Right.
And so, you know, even with my children, I've been very transparent. There's nothing my kids say publicly that would humiliate me, that would make me feel any type of way, because I've been more honest probably than they want me to be honest. And I've
Yes.
been very direct conversations with them. We used to have a no consequences zone Friday night, one night a month, where they could tell me anything and I was not allowed to give them a consequence. I had to listen to it. I had to
Wow.
take it in. I found out a lot of things, you know, I found out
Yes.
things that I didn't necessarily want to find out, but it opened up a way of communication. Even if it was like,
Right.
Mom, you know, I don't like when you come home and you're just drunk and I got to get you to your room and I get worried,
Wow.
you know, and it's like, whoa, right? Where most kids are just told, be quiet and get in your room. This is
Right.
grown people's business. But
Mhm.
having those candid conversations, I had to face myself. And I think, Ms. Brown, the biggest challenge that we have in our journey to healing is easy. It's almost easier when you're dealing with the stuff that happened to you that was out of your control, right? Because then you're a
Mhm.
victim. Then when
Mhm.
you're going through kind of the process, it's like, oh, I'm working through it. But then you get to the part where you have to face yourself and stuff you just did because of
Mhm.
the dysfunction, decisions you
Yes.
just made that were just wrong. Like you just,
Right.
and that's where a lot of people don't want to move past. So they stay in and that was probably one of the facing myself was one of the hardest parts of my journey. No, Tasha, nothing's wrong with you now. You've healed through this, and this. Now you're just an alcoholic. Stop. Just stop.
Wow.
And having to have
Wow.
that hard conversation with myself.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, and I've had to do that in every area of my life. But
Wow.
in that process, Ms. Brown, God has showed me how to look at people the way He looks at them and why
Mhm.
He didn't have a problem kicking it at a well with a whore Samaritan woman because of how He saw her, not how the
Yes.
world saw her. And when
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
shifted how I saw me, because you say, oh, you gotta love yourself and oh, you gotta that okay, that's cute, but I really didn't.
Right.
Like I really didn't. You think about the things that we value, right? That's the
Mhm.
things we take care of, Ms. Brown. Those are the things that we put money into, we put our time into, and our effort. But when you don't value yourself, it's evident.
Right.
So for me, I put all my focus into everybody else, and
Wow.
now having my focus on me, I'm like, whoa, I'm actually kind of a cool person without all this crap. You
Mhm.
know, I
Mhm.
can actually walk with my head held high. I can actually state my stand. I can actually now with a whole heart cast my cares on him because he cares for me, him,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? You know,
Right.
that I can no longer lean to my own understanding because, you know, at the end of the day, like I was afraid of where God was going to lead me because I didn't even like me. I'm like, is he going to ship me to Africa to be like some kind of a, you know, missionary? Like, I don't want to do
Mhm.
what he wants me to do. Like, what's going to happen? But now it's like, whoa, God, you know, whatever you want me to do. Like my godparents, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Kim and DeWitt Jones, my
Oh,
DeWitt Jones
yes.
is my dad's
I
like
love
best
them.
friend from like eighth
Yeah.
grade, and
Yeah.
they're my godparents. So
Mhm.
I remember they used to sing a song called "Do What You Want to Do, Say What You Want to Say, Move How You Want to
Yeah.
Move."
Yeah.
You know, and I never felt even worthy
Mm.
of being God's like child, his daughter.
Wow.
Like there's
Wow.
no way I'm a child of a king and these things happen to me. No way. There's no way that these challenges I've had to face, I couldn't be. And he's like, absolutely you are. And I think all the technical difficulties we had, because the enemy don't want me to say this. Are you
Exactly.
serious?
Exactly.
He's
Yeah.
mad. He's like,
He's
how dare
mad.
her try to pull them out of the matrix? You are not Neo.
Yeah. And but you know what I love about this conversation? Because so many of our children, and I look at my children, grew up in the church. And of course, we're not putting the church down. We love the church. But there were so many people that I say that are silently dying. And a lot of it is our children. And if we look at my generation now, the baby boomers, a lot of us grew up in the church. We had to go to church. We had no choice. Some of us did never develop a relationship with Christ. Everything was superficial. And so, because of wanting to be disobedient, not wanting to be there, rebellious, and started doing things in the world. I mean, my husband has a testimony also, and doing all these things. Well, then some of that rubbed off on our children. Some of that rubbed off on our nieces and nephews. And then there were people that were, the church is a hospital where hurt people, go, but then there's still some hurt people that never got any help, because even though they were sitting there when prayer was going on, they were sitting there when the word was going forth, but they were hurting so bad that, and sometimes, and I'm just saying this, sometimes we're so busy doing all the church work that we forgot about the kingdom work and helping people get delivered. And I believe in this season, that's why God is allowing us to be in this place where we are, because we have
Yeah.
no choice now to look at those people that are hurting. We have no choice now to go on social media and all these places. We have no choice. God has put us in the position, even like with my daughter, right before the pandemic. Is when things started happening, and she grew up in the church. She's a little church girl. My kids went to parochial schools, and they quoted scriptures. But sometimes I know for me, and I'm being transparent about me, I was so caught up in doing church work and being the evangelist and doing this and doing that, that even to the point my daughter said, oh no, mom, I've been doing this since I was 22. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking
Mm-hmm.
about? Because even the point of asking me for money or the kids come to live with me, I just thought, oh, it's this. I'm making excuses because I didn't want to deal with it. And sometimes that's what we do, but we've got to be transparent. How can we know what the problem is? Just like me with my illnesses. If I never went to the doctor, they wouldn't have never found the problem.
Mm.
If they never did surgery and opened me up, they would never know that there was something going on. So that's the same thing with us. We've got to be transparent, and we've got to stop hiding our testimony. And I love that you're very transparent, but I love that you're speaking to my generation, your generation, and the generation behind us, because it's not always going to be how we talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my generation, sometimes we got to get all deep with it and this and that. I love, and I'm a person, I'm a bridge builder, because you're just saying it like it is. You're saying it how it's coming out and how you deal with it. And I love that. I absolutely love it.
Well, it's important to find a safe place to be able to do that. But also, again, it's good to have mentors and people in church. But just like again, as I stated, and I can't say it enough, like you wouldn't go to an optometrist for an Achilles tear, right? So
Mhm.
why would you go to, let's say, a friend who is self-ordained or whatever the case may be, when you have a real challenges and traumas you need to work through? There are people who are
Mhm.
skilled to help with that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
I'm not embarrassed to say one bit, because now I get to spend my next 40 years not dysfunctional. And that is
Hallelujah.
priceless.
Ooh.
That is priceless. So if it means that I have to say, now of course I will always have, love does cover, and I will be discreet about certain things, but not at my expense and not at the expense of helping somebody else.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not embarrassed to say I went through that, because there are
Right.
more people who are going through that, who are hurting, who are hiding, sneaking bottles and pills in their purse and stopping by the corner store after 8 hours of church and everything else. Okay, booking
Mhm.
rooms to go see the prostitute and all the other stuff. There's more of that going on, right? We know, but at the same time, but they're hurting. There's a reason why they're doing that. God didn't make us that way. And
Right,
so it's like,
right.
okay, so one thing I loved on my father is my dad, he never taught, and both my parents rather, never taught us religion. They taught us relationship, because religion and pomp and circumstance and this church and that suit and this outfit and all that crap was stuff that was drilled into his head. And he was like, both my parents were like, and my mom and in a different denomination, very similar. So they both were determined, no, we're going to teach our kids to know God in their own way. We're going to have certain rules and stuff, but we want them to have their own experience with God. So because of that, my dad was also very transparent. My mom was, it wasn't like we weren't aware of things that were going on. And because they were able to go through those things and be real about it, and then they had their own accountability, which wasn't us, I'm their child, but they had couples that they're still friends with to this day, that knew everything, that were there during the fights or there during the challenges, that they talked through and prayed through and worked through it and got the help they needed. That's why literally till death did they part, and they would still be celebrating today, right? So I think that it's hard. It is not easy to do, because you get to that point where you have to face you. That's where people's healing usually stops. Is hold on a second, I think. Did I lose you? Uh-oh, I think I did. Miss Melanie, did I lose you?
Oh, wow. So we have lost the broadcast. So we have lost the broadcast. All we have is audio right now. I believe there's something going on with the towers and the Wi-Fi. It's going in and out. We'll try to come back on later. All we have is audio right now. I believe there's something going on with the towers and the Wi-Fi. It's going in and out. We'll try to come back on later.
Hello. I can't see you.
Okay. It's coming. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
All
Ooh.
right. Yeah, that people were still hanging on. Okay. We're still on. We're on. We're on. So we can start back. The show has still been going. So sorry about that. The devil does not want this to go forth, but we are going forth in Jesus' name. All right. You can where you were at one point, but I lost it. So
Well, you can ask. How about you ask a question and we can just go from there wherever God leads me to go. How about that?
Question I did want to ask was, did someone else introduce you to the alcohol? Did you decide, because you didn't start drinking until you were in your 30s, did you decide to just do this on your own, or did someone introduce you to it? And how did you go about these things, knowing who you were and where you came from?
Great. Yeah. So yes, there was someone that I was in a relationship with at the time that did introduce me to it. And the irony was that I had many had gone before him to try to get me to do things. And I don't know. I just never gave in or never cared. So for some reason, I just did. I think I really wanted that relationship. And, the other piece is that, again, when you don't value who you are, you're constantly questioning it, right? You're constantly looking for validation from outside sources. And so one of the biggest things I was always told is you're too serious, you're too uptight, you're too, you need to loosen up. And so that was kind of the mindset of this individual, was to get me to loosen up and not be so serious and so uptight. And because I was still trying to navigate like what I even wanted to be, and do I want to be seen as uptight? Do I not? Now I'm like, I really don't care. If you can't handle my conversation, don't talk. But there was a time where that was the challenge, and so I thought, well, then I guess maybe I will try just so I can. And it did loosen me up, unfortunately, and not the right way. And so, but as far as who I was, being functional, it didn't really impact my life that much. So I never missed work or, got evicted or, it didn't cause me. I was very good at it. And so I knew my kind of boundaries. But I knew it was getting really bad when my kids would videotape me. And then the next morning be like, Mom, this is what you were like. And I'm like, oh my God. And what was sad is the weeping. I wouldn't be angry or mean. I would be weeping in pain. No one loves me. Why this? And be completely intoxicated, but just weeping. The sorrow and the pain was so excruciating in these moments. And then I would, black out. I didn't even remember it. And so it was clear there was just so much pain. And then it was impacting my kids. And so actually a lot of people didn't even know. I was very good at hiding it. And there were, my kids knew, but probably not until I started my healing journey did people really know. I think some of my decision making was probably made clear to people when they found out. They're probably like, oh, that's why she did that. Or, ooh, I was wondering, that seemed kind of off or off character. Now I probably know why, So I think it may have shed some light on some of my decision making. But most people are like, I had no idea. And it's like, most people don't. And as a result, one of the things I did is I got mental health first aid certified, which is not the same as having a counseling degree or anything, but it's basically what it sounds like, to where you can identify if someone's having an anxiety attack or they're having the onset of a mental health episode, or you can kind of sense and you can get them to the right people. And so that was important for me because so many people didn't know. They just didn't know. They're like, I had no idea that you were dealing with all of this. And that's why so many suicides and such are shockers to people, right? We're like, he just seems so happy and he was on his way and he had a scholarship and what happened? You know, like he was miserable. He was screaming and no one heard him. That's what was going on, you
Right.
know? And so
Right.
being intentional about learning and seeing those things. And that's kind of, while I am, gosh, the way that I equated myself, Mrs. Brown, was as I said, I'm the story building of my age. So I started this journey at 36, I think. And I said I was a 36 story builder, you know, with my first trauma being at age 5. So that's pretty far down. Okay. That's like the fifth floor. Okay. And having to rebuild from there, you know, I would say right now I'm probably at like 33, 34 in my, even though, yes, I'm 39 years old. But I would say that's probably where I'm at in my healing journey as far as look at the context of a building, right? And again, but it's liberating. Like it really is. Like I'm like, such a different, this is the way I see the world is so different. And even the way I see people is different. Where instead of it's like, why did she do this? Or how come that? I'm like, I wonder where the deficit is in their heart. I wonder if that girl has her boobs out or she's doing this, what is it that she's crying out for? Why? What attention does she need? What is missing? Who told her that she's only worth her body? Because I know how that feels, you know, versus I can't believe she's doing that. You know, switching the mindset because people are hurting. You know, I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to be responsible for anyone's healing, but I am willing to be a bridge and a gateway and a resource and hopefully an inspiration. Because that there's people that God has put in place, such as the Beaver Millers and stuff that know how to do that. Right. And so that's all that I want to be at this point, because it feels really good. Like, and then the interesting part is, as I've gone through this journey, I've been able to physically manifest things such as physical, like weight loss. And I'm not even like trying per se. I've just been walking, you know, just taking care of Tasha. And it starts to permeate. It starts to permeate throughout your whole life. So it's not just here now, and it's not just here now. Now it's physical. So now it's like you're physically changing too. And I believe when God says for us to take care of our temple, that's what I believe that he means. He doesn't mean aesthetically. He's talking about matters of the heart, matters of the mind, and then your body will follow suit naturally. Right. Just like the flowers don't have to worry for their, you know, they don't have to worry about how they're going to bloom. And the word talks about how the birds don't have to worry about where their food comes from. Right. Because they're right. They're seeking what needs to be sought first. And then it's like everything else really is added. It's kind of weird. I'm like, this is interesting. This is what it's like, you know.
Now, how is this affecting your family now, your mom and your children around you? How is it affecting them now when they see different mom now, you know?
I think at first it was kind of like side eye. It's going to stick. I think my kids have always been my biggest cheerleader. Honestly, my boys, they would call me out, but they'd be like, "You're my mom." Like, you know, they're just a never ever. That's just, they're very proud of me. That's so cute. They'll be like, "Mom, we're just proud of you. I'm so proud. You don't need that. You know, I'm proud of you, Mom. Can I go walking with you, Mom? Can I?" You know, they're just very, very proud of me. And they've never turned their back on me either. They've never snubbed me or any of that. You know, even though that has been presented to them at times, you know, and they've been like, "No, it's my mom," you know. And then as far as like my immediate family, you know, my mom is very, you know, thrilled to see me being really whole. And our relationship has dramatically changed because I'm operating from a healthy place. And so I can see things through a healthy lens. And we're able to interact in a healthy way, which is something that wasn't happening before due to my emotional instability and other challenges and dealt with issues. And you see everything negative and everything this way, oh, they feel that way, and the whole world's coming after me, you know. And I think there are people also that just don't know what to do with me. They're like, we're not used to like mentally, the emotionally stable, like knows who she is, Tasha. Or I have no idea who this person is, but I think I like it, you know. And then there's people who are just like, I like the codependent, messed up, dysfunctional Tasha, so I'm not doing it. And I'm like, perfect, goodbye.
Right,
you know, and you
right,
have people
right.
who
Yes.
that are so used to dysfunction. They're like, what do you mean you want to get out of the dirt and you don't want to be at the masquerade ball anymore? Put your mask back on. No, I'm out of the matrix. I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? And you got people who just love the matrix. They like it. They're like, I'm staying in it and I don't want to do that. And you're exposing it. So now I don't like you. So now you got to go. And I'm like,
right.
you know,
okay. Uses, yeah. And you know, my scripture is greater is he that is in me than he is in the world, because we have to detach ourselves from negativity. And you know, a lot of times if God sends us into those places to minister, and when you were talking earlier, I was thinking about that scripture that says that one watereth, one planet, and God give the increase. When you were saying that you know where your place is, and that's when you know who you are. If you're the person that's just supposed to water, then you're not responsible for everything else. And that helps you to be better Tasha or better Melanie. You know, I know my job is to plant, you know, and I know that. So that helps me even mentally, physically. And then in the meantime, I'm building the inner man on the inside of me. You know, I'm building him up by looking at who I am so I can help. Because if I'm all broken, I can't help anybody else. You know, I can fake it really good, but that's only going to last for a little while. And I noticed from some years back that you were a part of, I want to say it was like a beauty contest or something you were doing. That's where I first recognized you. I think Pastor Ivan was an MC. And now, were you going through all of that even during that season of your life?
Yeah, actually, the year that I had him MC, I had what I would consider a shotgun wedding. Right after my father passed away, I felt an immediate gap and I needed to fill it. And he was a person for my kids. So let me find someone to fill it. And it was just not right. And so long story short, I actually was going through a divorce at that time. Meanwhile, filling up a big theater, girls competing, all this stuff going on. And, you know, the news there and everything else. And I was at the time, my kids and I were actually living at my kids' godparents' house. Like I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor. The kids were in a bunk bed. We were sharing a room and all of that was going on. And again, just that ability to function, but I was able to separate it and go, okay, well, I get to pour myself into all these women, helping them build their confidence, helping them do this and do that, you know, and I don't have to think about the fact that I just got served and I thought I was going to have this life with this person and they decided they didn't want to do it, you know? And so it was, I was. I mean, and I can honestly say the last year-ish is probably the first year I haven't been going through something. And it's really nice. Like my dad was like, Tasha, you're always in crisis mode. And I'm like, I am, huh? So it's really nice to be like, people are like, so what are you doing? What's going on? I'm like, nothing. And it's great. You know?
But that's how God served though. And that's what I love about God. He said he will take the things, I was just reading that, the foolish and the unwise, you know, to confound the wise. He'll take those people that will have been through mental illness and been through drug and addictions and prostitution, all these things, because really that's what the Bible was about. You know, if we really look at it, that's who was in the Bible. And we look at all of the strong biblical characters that God left on record for us, none of them were perfect. They all had something that they were going through, but sometimes we want to make everybody perfect, you know, that's in the church or that's say, and we know that when God saves us, we know he redeems us, he delivers us. But then one of my friends said, but sometimes our minds don't get fully transformed with that part of it. And so we still go through things. I mean, even in my life, I've been saved, you know, from youth up, been in the church since I was in my 20s. But if I was to give you a list, it would be so long of all the things that I did along the way. And that's why I call it journey. That's why I call it on the road. There were so many things that now I can look back and say that was my stepping stone to get me to where I am today. And that's why I believe the Lord allowed me to go through those things. You can go through years of torment, years of you went through all those years. to get on the program for an hour and testify, and hundreds of people get delivered because they heard your testimony and they heard your transparency. And God can't help but bless you because you opened up. And you know, a lot of times they say, oh, well, you were in the church and you were saved, you were this and that. But we choose our roads. You know, we choose which direction to go. We choose that God is a gentleman. He's not going to force things on us. But like you said in John 10:10, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. All of those things. He wants to just wipe us out. But that latter part says, but I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. And that's the part that we try to get to. But for some of us, it's hard. You know, and I'm transparent. Some of us is hard. No matter how many times you tell us, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. You can do this. I got you. I got your back. And then, you know, when you go to sleep at night, that enemy's talking, you know, like that analogy you see on TV where he's talking in your ear, go take the drink, go take the pill, go take the this, you know. And so if we have to get to that place, and that's what I love about your transparency. And that's what with my daughter, we couldn't do it. And see, even if I knew what she was going through, you know, I was praying for her for different other things and situations, but man can't do that. And not just me. When I say I couldn't do it, God had to send her to somebody who was specially prepared, that knew how to deal and knew what to say. And I always say that. And like for me, I know that God could have healed me right off, but he used the doctors, the anesthesiologists, the nurses, all those people medicinally to go in, and he's the one who gave them the knowledge to do what I need to do to get better. And I love how you gave that analogy with the athletes. And I thank God for that. And I know that God has so much more for you in this season. And you know, it's sometimes it can be fun being a Facebook stalker, because like with me, when I see different people that that's my little joke that I talk about. Because see, I didn't know you and know your whole story, but I was praying for you because I remember when you moved. And then I remember when you came back. I didn't know what the foundation of that was. I didn't know anything. But the Lord had just put you in my spirit to pray for you. So then when I seen that you had graduated from this program and had that certificate, I was like, yes. But I had it's the Holy Ghost, you know. He just said, just continue to pray for her, and he will put different people in our lives. So I just thank God that, you know, this was difficult getting on tonight, but you helped some people, because maybe your problem is not alcohol. Maybe your problem is not pills. You know, it could be low self-esteem. It could be not loving yourself. It could be things that happen in your past, men and women who have been abused, misused, mistreated. You've been the victim. Any of those can happen, but we serve a God that's a delivering God. And we have to, everybody has, you know what I say this, when I see my children going through things, I don't want them to go through it, but I'm reminded that just like I had to go through the testimony, they have to develop their own testimony. And just like you, I'm sure your parents didn't want you to go through what you went through, but look at, with you going through your testimony, look how powerful the ministry that God is giving you now. And he's giving you a ministry from your heart to deal, like you talked about. You see women out there and you see them different things and you wonder, okay, no, it doesn't look right, but why is she doing that?
Absolutely. And I wanted to share, you know, I always make a joke and say I'm more of a Proverbs girl than a Psalms girl. You know, I'm kind of like more blunt. It's like, you don't work, you don't eat. You know, I like Proverbs, right? Psalms is like, oh, behold how good my brother get together. I'm not doing all that. But anyway, so bless David's heart. But anywho, I was, you know, we think about those things that are often quoted but not in full, right? So the principle of faith without works being dead. It's a partnership. God doesn't, like you said earlier, he doesn't force us to do anything. So you can have faith, but you have to, your stuff you have to actually do. And that was where the transformation really began in my life, was when I started doing in combination with that. Also, when we quote, you know, all things work together for good, but there's another part. to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And what does the Bible say about if you love God, you do what? You keep my commandments. So actually, what are you doing? So yes, all things don't work together for good for everybody. They actually don't, because you missed the whole other part of the verse that you need to be doing for to even activate that part. And things didn't start working together for my good until I realized, oh wait, I said I love God. Oh, he said I'm called. Wait, what does that mean? Oh, that means I have to keep his commandments. That means I have to seek him first. That means I cannot lean to my own understanding. That means I have to cast my cares on him because he cares for me. Oh, that means I have to delight myself in the Lord, and then he will give me the desires of my heart. Not he'll just give me the desires of my heart. I need to delight myself in him, right? So I think it's important that these are the intertwining partnership, because who wants to be in a relationship? You think about God, right? And he wants a relationship with us. This is why he likens his relationship to a marriage, because he wants you to want him. Right? Who wants to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't really want to be there? That's why he has the dual principles of faith and works. Who wants to be with the dude and he's like, I don't even like you, like, just, have faith in me. What? I need you to want me, okay? Like, I'm not doing none of that. So what makes you think that Jesus, God, who gave his son for us, who died for us, who was like, yo, I want you to want me. That's why I'm not forcing you. That's why I'm giving you a choice. I'm gonna make it real easy. My yoke is easy. My burdens are light, but I still want you to choose me. Right? So we want to make God be like, no, he got to come for me. He got to save me. He got to do this. He's like, this is not a one-way relationship. Okay. I'm gonna need you to show me something. I have to add for you to have the supernatural. You got to do your natural. Then I add my super to the natural to make it supernatural.
Come on now.
So I'm just saying, like, so these are all revelations I've had to have. So the work part, that's what I feel the practical work part is really where I'm going to be able to be a conduit. And I pray that God can use me to show people how to do the practical work. When their family's saying, you don't need to go get that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to go to no counseling. You just need to trust God. You don't need to let those white people in your business. And you don't need to do any of that. Then find a Black therapist. Okay. Whatever you need to do. Right. There's somebody for everybody. And there may be those moments where someone has to like shaken, because I'm like, okay, Lord, I've always wanted to have an opportunity to share this message, because it's a scary message to give. But at the same time, I want people, when God says, I want you to live this life and live it abundantly, that's what that means. That's what that means. It doesn't mean your abundance isn't money. Abundance is freedom. Abundance is just the lightness of good, and I have that. I'm not rich. I don't got everything made. I don't got none of that. But man, I feel free and I feel good. And no one can take that. The joy that I have, this is when you can have the joy that you have, the world can't take away, because this joy is pure and it's authentic, and there's nothing in between this and that, because I've healed through all of it. God handed me over to people like the James Millers of the world and said, I'm going to hand you over to these people that can connect you. So now there's all the muck and mire. It's so funny how we'll change a filter in a car, but we won't change a filter in our heart and still keep adding oil in it. But it's running rough. Wow. I'm sorry. You need a new filter. That was real good. Thank you, Lord. So I'm sitting here going like, okay, so why would we not want our filter change as who we are, so that when he pours into us, it's a pureness. It's not pouring into some mucky, dirty filter that we just won't clean out.
Yes.
And I just, just as God gave his son to us, his son gives us to people to heal, so that we can have that direct relationship, so that when we say, Lord, take this cup from me, God, I'm ready to go, it's a quick streamline there in the spirit. Ooh, Jesus, oh my gosh. So anyway, that's it. I'm sorry, it's 10 o'clock. I know your people are probably like,
no,
Lord,
that's good. But you know what? There's people
I
on the line. I know there's somebody that needs to hear what you're saying. And I just appreciate how you were so patient for us getting them, because I know that this was, telling our story and being transparent. Yes, it seems easy when we're sitting here talking, but we still have to process all of that even before and after when you're telling your story. I mean, just really, when I first started telling my story, because people that know you, like here I am in my 30s, early 30s, and I have the largest shop in Tacoma, and I'm this big person traveling all around doing all of this, and I'm sleeping in my beauty shop, and people are like, I never knew that. Oh my God. Well, I still had to go through every time I would talk about things in process. And so I just thank God for your transparency. I thank God for you coming on. I know, what my girl Christian says, so good, so good.
Oh,
Yeah, because
Christian,
we
I love
don't
her.
know.
Hi, sweetie.
It might not be the same thing. And I keep saying that it might not be the same story, but somebody's going through something. There's somebody going through something that needs help and needs deliverance, and they need to hear you. So I just thank God, and I'm going to ask you because I love, and look, Sister Chantel said, awesome. We never know who we're going to touch, because I said one person will tell another person, and they tell another person, and they tell another person. So I thank God for that. I would like for you, if you can, just speak to someone that's out there, a prayer, just to help someone that's wearing a mask, that's hiding, that's faking it to make it, because of what you've gone through. I normally try to end with prayer, but God's just leading me to see if you could just speak into someone's life and pray a prayer that they would go and seek help.
Yes, absolutely. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity, and just thank you for ordering my words and my steps and allowing me to share what you have done in me, the clean heart that you've created in me, Lord, the right spirit that you renewed in me, God. Lord, I ask, Lord, that you would just give the courage and the strength to anybody underneath the sound of my voice or otherwise to reach out and reach out to the people that you have put in place to do these things, to walk them through their trauma so that they can have eternal life here on this earth, so they can live the life that you intended for them to live, so they can live life abundantly here and now, not when they get to heaven, not later, but now, God. I pray, God, that you would just take away any pride or any shame, and that you would surround them with people who love and care for them and want to see them healed, and that you would strip them of anyone who wants to keep them in dysfunction, God. That you would just place that one person that can believe in them and walk with them on this journey, Lord. You said that two are better than one, God. So I ask, Lord, that anybody that is dying and wants true healing from that inside out, Lord, that you would place someone in their life, that you would give them a James Miller or a Nikki Miller, that you would place somebody in their life to connect them where they need to be connected so they can truly be made whole. And then live life abundantly, God. I know that's your desire for us, Lord. I thank you in advance, God, for whoever you were healing, God. I thank you in advance for the courage you're giving someone right now to pick up the phone and to call somebody and to step out or to Google a place they can go to, Lord. I thank you in advance, because it takes so much strength to say, I need help. That is the strongest person in the world. And I thank you, God, in advance for their healing. And I thank you for you healing me and continuing to heal me, God. And I ask, Lord, that you would just place hands on every hurting person under the sound of my voice, Lord. Every hurting person, and let them know you're here and that you will lead them to their healing, God. I thank you in advance, Lord. I thank you because you are so good. Your mercies endure forever, God. You are so faithful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Never thought in my life I would pray publicly like that.
I thank you so much for your transparency. And Minister Beaver came on, and you didn't see when you were praying, and he says, so proud of you. And that brought tears to my eyes. Oh my gosh. I just thank you so much. And I know that God has put you in my life, and I look forward to sharing with you and, just us working together, because I know that God has more things for you. And I just speak blessing into your life, that God's going to do some things, those things you've been desiring, because I see that God wants, what I see is that you want to have a safe haven place for young women. I don't know. I see that in the spirit, that you want to have a place where women can talk and women can gather and work together. And I see that. And so don't give up. God's got a plan. He's got a plan. And I just thank God for your heart. Oh my gosh. Like I said from the beginning, you're beautiful from the inside. And I thank you so much. And tell your son, thank you for allowing mom to come on tonight. And thank you so much. That's okay. I love it. You're a mom.
I'm like, between him and between Satan and him, I'm like, okay, someone just don't want us to be on here, okay?
I love it. You know what? This is, like I said, I was on my couch because I said, this is just girlfriends talking. So I love it. And I thank you so much. And I appreciate you so much. And I know that God has so much more. And don't forget, just like she said, if you need help, ask somebody. You can inbox Sister Tasha. You can inbox me. She can give you where to go or what to do, and I can do the same. We can pray for you. So please, if anything, like I said, it might not be what we've been through, but whatever you're going through, we don't want you to be by yourself, and we want to help you to get your best life. Now, it's a process, but we want to help you to get your best life. And like I always say, the best is yet to come. So thank you again, Sister Tasha. Love you much. And I just thank God for you. Oh my gosh, my heart is just overwhelmed right now. So I know why the enemy didn't want us to come on. I get it now.
No, right.
So thank you. Right. Thank you. Y'all don't know, I done been on 3 different devices tonight. So love you. God bless you. Thank you again. Good night.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.